Right. President Trump rolling out his gold card immigration plan, which will help fast-track visas to retain foreign talent in the U.S. Joining us now with more on this, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. It seems, and it's good to see you, Mr. Secretary. And
it's good to see you.
A lot of times I do not look immediately for the downside to something, but I'm sure people are at this point. But if the president says Tim Cook has actually pushed for this policy, I think that's a pretty good endorsement that maybe the president's onto something here.
So you've got to be able to bring in the best and brightest to the country. You know, this concept where you just get online to come into the United States of America and you just come on in. I mean, the average green card holder in America makes 1/3 less than the average American. We should be bringing in the best and the brightest. And that's what Donald Trump is changing about our immigration system. Let's expedite the best and the brightest who are going to give $1 million to the United States to prove they're at the top of the list.
I guess just the optics of it is what bothers people. And we're still stuck in the, I don't know if it's a 20th century or even a 19th century mindset of the Statue of Liberty. You know, the masses, the saying on the Statue of Liberty. But when you think about it, if you do get people that, you know, are not interested in learning English or assimilating, and you know, maybe they don't have a lot of skills, that does become a burden on people that are already here, and Americans that are already here. And families have been here for years as immigrants, mind you. But how do you get beyond that optics? Mr. Secretary?
Well, look, the whole idea is we're the only great country that lets other people just come in without vetting them and deciding whether they're really going to help the economy of America. So, you know, in our current visa system, why shouldn't we expedite the people who are willing to step up, give $1 million to the United States, go through the most rigorous vetting process that the United States has ever done, $15,000 of vetting to make sure they're the right people. And let's bring in the top of the best. And let's bring those people in. Let's help them grow America and build America. Why should we take people who are below average? It just doesn't make any sense. Let's think this through. Let's pick the best. Every other country does. It's time for America to do it correctly.
Where do you want to go from here? So many things to talk about. You want to talk about the controversy about the H-200, whether we didn't, get much back. There's a big piece in the Wall Street Journal and the op-ed pages, which I know the president kind of at times rolls his eyes at the journal, but it does say, what was the rationale for why this is happening?
Well, that was a deal between Jensen Huang from NVIDIA and the President of the United States. They spoke together. They talked about it a lot. I mean, I would say more than a dozen times. And the idea from the president's perspective is that the technology, the American technology stack, he wants the developers in China to also be using the American technology stack. If you let all the developers in China, and this was Jensen's argument, if you let all the developers in China just use Chinese technology, they're going to get used to it, they're going to get better at it, and they're going to go faster. So let's break them apart, let them use the American technology stack, and therefore you split their developers. That was Jensen Huang's argument. The president decided that he was willing to go with that for certain parts of this technology, and that's the business deal. So it's the great American technologist talking to the great businessman president, and they reached what they thought was the right answer for this particular moment.
I mean, some people call it common sense, some of the things that the president arrives at. The 25% of revenues that flows to the government from this. You're an uber capitalist, obviously. You've been, how long have you been an uber capitalist? Is that what you would say in terms of justifying some of what other people call industrial policy?
No, I think the 25% is a sideline. The choice was Do you sell them those chips or not? What development process are they in? Where are they? And how does the H200 fit? That was really the analysis. And the 25% is really the president always ends up saying, and how can we help America? How can we do better for America? But the 25% was not a driver. It was a sideline.
Right. That's just an example of a bigger perception that a lot of, I guess you'd call them critics, say. I mean, people that didn't like the CHIPS Act or didn't like any of the the Biden administration picking winners and losers in terms of companies. It almost looks like maybe the president has done things that are maybe not exactly the same, but maybe rhyme with some of that, with taking stakes in companies, with the government. Does any of that raise an eyebrow for you, or do you just say it's just common sense, it's fine?
Well, if you're going to give, like we were giving, the Biden administration gave $11 billion, like a shareholder Christmas card
so get
to
a stake.
Intel. Why? So why shouldn't, if you're going to give them the money, why shouldn't we at least get a stake? I mean, TSMC is different, right? They gave them a $6 billion to build $60 billion worth of plants. Now, we thought that wasn't right. They went up to $160 billion. I think we're going to get them up to $200+ billion in plants in America. 30,000 jobs, that's what we're supposed to do. So, if the money in America really brings in jobs, fine. But otherwise, of course we should take care of the American people. This concept of the government just being a giveaway of your tax dollars, Donald Trump just doesn't stand for it. He wants the American people to get the benefit of the bargain. And that seems perfectly reasonable if you think about it.
There was a time at Cantor where you're probably sweating every action by the Fed, every comment from the Fed. At this point, do you think that Jay Powell is too late? Do you think they should have gone 50 yesterday? Do you think that the risks are symmetric for, maybe a labor market that people are worried about versus an inflation number that is still too high? Where are the real risks? And do you agree with what the Fed did yesterday?
I think rates in the United States of America should be much lower. If you look at a comparison of the United States of America compared to all the other great nations, we're the greatest credit and we pay the most. We're like 33rd in the world. It makes no sense that we have this high an interest rate. Our economy, of course, is growing. You can have a growing economy and lower interest rates. That's okay. There is no inflation in the country. It's less than 3%. There's no fears. There's nothing happening that are horrible. Things are coming down. Energy prices are coming down. I think the key is rates should be lower. If you just study it comparatively, you would see the United States of America is paying too high. These people are too afraid. Jay Powell is too late, but maybe he should be called too afraid to lead the greatest $30 trillion economy in the world. We should be leading with our front foot. Instead, we're always leaning back as if something bad is happening. We are doing great. Nothing bad is happening. Greatness is happening. We're growing 4% GDP.
So, hey, Mr. Secretary, help us with this, because go back and put your old Cantor hat on. We were all watching yesterday as we heard what Jay Powell had to say about the rate cuts and also the projections for only one rate cut next year and one in 27. And yet the equity markets went up and we were all scratching our heads. What do you think?
Well, I think that's the point. The president made this point yesterday. Why is it that when things are good, they raise rates, and when things are bad, they cut rates? Why do we think these are the right rates to begin with? I think the world is just too afraid. The answer is our GDP is going to grow. Our economy is going to be on fire. These investments coming into America, if you put them against GDP, you're going to see we are going to have historic growth rates in the United States of America, and that does not create inflation. Energy prices are coming down. I think what you should see is lower rates here and higher growth to finally get the golden age of America. That's what Donald Trump looks at. And I question anybody who says, why must interest rates be this high? Go look at Europe. Go look at everywhere else. Why do their interest rates are hundreds of basis points lower than ours? Why are we paying so much? Because we're afraid and we're wrong. And I think Donald Trump is onto that, and that's why he keeps saying it. Our rates should be significantly lower compared to the rest of this world.
I got one more for you. We just had Steve Eisman on the broadcast. We were talking about AI and just the concentration of AI in the economy. And, you know, he's obviously famed for being a character in The Big Short. So you talk about a worrier, if you will. But worried about the AI economy and whether we're in a bubble, whether eventually, you know, the scaling laws sort of fall away and things plateau in terms of just how fast these large language models can get better. You've spent a lot of time, obviously, with the leaders in the AI community, whether they be on the semiconductor side or on the large language model side. Where do you come down on that?
I feel actually really good about it. I think when you're deeply inside of these technologists, you find no fear at all. This is the beginning of the internet, right? And yes, there was an internet bubble, but was there really an internet bubble? There was an internet moment. The answer is AI is going to grow in America. We have the right rules. We have the right foundation. We're building huge amounts of energy here to keep energy prices low. We're going to create a great economy based on the AI infrastructure build. I think that's going to create advanced manufacturing so we can bring manufacturing and reshore it to America. Remember, Americans don't have millions of people to screw in little screws in iPhones, but we do have the capacity to run robotics. You know, when I say robotics, think about it, a modern auto plant, you know, with those robotic arms doing the welding. Thousands of technicians will be manning those factories, and that's what's going to come to America. I think you're going to see enormous manufacturing growth in America across pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, autos, steel. It's all coming home, and we're going to have an amazing economy. I would not be afraid. I would be excited.
So, Howard, the 3% inflation rate has ticked up back to 3 in the last couple of reporting periods. Who knows where it is now? We haven't got decent government reports, obviously. But do you think the affordability question can be solved even with inflation rates being a little bit higher than the Fed would like, i.e. 2%? Can it be solved from a hot economy with wages growing where suddenly you don't feel like you can't afford things because you're doing better? Because if the economy gets that hot from the Fed rate cuts and from the BBB and the stimulus and everything else, you might not be able to bring down 3%. Are you willing to accept that if wages are rising quickly and people feel like they can afford things? Is that the idea?
I think you fix it from both sides. I think you bring affordability, you focus on housing and bring the affordability of housing down. You focus on the farms and bring the price of groceries down. And you bring down interest rates. Remember, if you bring down interest rates and you bring down energy, you're really grabbing people's pocketbooks and putting more money in them. You've got taxes coming down, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on our Social Security, things like that. These things, and you drive GDP growth, real GDP growth, not the middling growth that we've gotten used to, this sort of 2% nonsense. This economy, the $30 trillion U.S. economy, can grow 4%. It can grow 5%. And I think under President Trump, you're going to see it grow 6%. And people think, oh, these things aren't possible. Lower rates, lower energy, you're going to have that growth. You're going to fix America doing both sides, raising wages, great jobs coming into this country, bringing down the cost of energy, bringing down the cost of interest rates. You're going to have Americans feel good about the United States of America under Donald Trump. And that's what we're playing for. We're playing for fixing both sides of the spectrum together to make America reach its golden age. You got to do both. You got to have people make more money, and you got to get interest rates down, housing costs down, energy prices down.
All right, Mr. Secretary. 6%, that's a goal to certainly shoot for. 4 or 5 would be something.
Exactly.
It's been a while.
Exactly.
It's been a while since we've had that in this country. A lot of people don't think it's possible, but with AI and assuming some other things, maybe it is. We appreciate your time. Thanks.
Oh, I think you're going to be north of 4 next year. And
you do.
Have me come
right
on in the second quarter and play this back, and you're going to see amazing numbers.
You don't have to. Yeah, we would. I hope
from
you're
your
right.
lips, we hope.
Yeah, I hope you're right, and we will play. And if you're wrong, we'll play it. We'll play it too.
Okay.
No,
listen,
you
I'm
just
not
won't
going to
be
be
coming
wrong.
on.
Yeah,
you just won't be on. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thank
Trump
you.
card. TrumpCard.gov. Let's go. TrumpCard.gov for the gold card.
Excellent. All right. Thank you.